Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
But tell me, Eddie, is that a rabbit in your pocket or you're just happy to see me?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another solo live stream where I go for about an hour long talking about pop culture topics and unfortunately the cringe that goes along with it. At some point, I would like to talk about something positive, but every week, pretty much every damn week, I go on. Bounding in the Comics basically points out the cringe, but Bounding in the Comics, CBR, ScreenRant, Kotaku, Polygon, and TheGamer, and inevitably, pretty much cringe. So, I got 3 articles, and I was going to make this as the title, but I figured YouTube might not like that, pretty much, because they already yeeted one of my live streams because they didn't like me talking about a certain pandemic that happened, and my questioning it when I was talking about an actual article about the Last of Us series, comparing the series, or the premise of it to that pandemic, or at least the disease behind it. You didn't. So I didn't think they would like this title, but the title I was going to go with is "Everything's Racist, Everything's Bad, Everything's Racist." Pretty much because that's just about the theme in these articles. Because you have ScreenRant again targeting Mel Gibson, and we have the Lethal Weapon 5 news. It's going to be filmed if it hasn't already been started filming. So it's basically going to wrap up the franchise, and Mel Gibson is helming it now. So obviously, they're going to drag him through the mud again. So they're going to bring up shit from his past, even though they're all about tolerance. But anyway, they're going to, inevitably, they're going to be calling him racist. Right? Pretty much. Pretty fucking much. But, and CBR, we had the Oscars happen not too long ago. And Ke Huy Quan, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, Short Round, he played Short Round in Temple of Doom, and he played in The Goonies as a child actor, recently won. He won an Oscar. Good for him. Nothing against that. But his win spurred the retards at CBR to talk about Temple of Doom and how that's racist. Doesn't matter that Quan is in the movie. Short Round is Indiana Jones' sidekick. Doesn't fucking matter about that. The movie Temple of Doom is still racist. And then, to round out the racist trilogy, pretty much, TheGamer, talking about how Resident Evil 5 is too racist for a remake by our gift that keeps on giving, Jade King. It's either Jade King or Stacey Henley. Inevitably, it's one of those two. Not all the time, but 9 out of 10 times it's one of those two. Pretty much. They are the gift that keeps on giving. It literally is everything is racist. Pretty much. And I wanted to put that as the title, but I didn't think that YouTube would like it. So, and I didn't want another live stream to get yeeted as a result, because I already have on this channel, because of the one live stream that was pulled, a warning. So there is that. So, and if I have time, if I don't go into the entirety of the articles, Trey, the article I shared with you, I might end on that. I might not exactly cover it entirely, but CBR wrote another extremely stupid article that makes window lickers, like I posted on Twitter, makes window lickers look like Mensa candidates. Pretty fucking much. But anyway, so from the top is Trey. You ready for the cringe? Well, hopefully you don't go too crazy. Especially because I'll be live on Twitch, and I don't want you yelling at me in my Twitch chats. Jaluk, hello, good to see you. Grave says, hello, lovely Mara and chat. Have a great stream. Can't stay for the streams. I'll leave this tab open and try to do the same thing for the Twitch stream. No worries, Gravy. I know you have family visiting, so no worries if you can't. Brightest Day, greetings and salutations to you as well. Megatron Zoinks. Yep. Quiet Robot, yes, hello. This is my Rumble. I'm trying to get to 100. I also created a Kick account. More so to follow Lethal Lightning, because he created a Kick account. But if Twitch keeps going the way they're going, and if Kick lasts past this year, if I get to, I'll try to pull up the tab for the Twitch, pretty much, for like, when I'm on Twitch, so I can like, show you like, what my kick is. But if I get to 75 on that and I stream over there for 5 hours, I get affiliates, which is a lot fucking faster. Well, Twitch wasn't hard. Twitch wasn't hard to give. It's, capital J, capital S, but yeah, that's my kick. Jade Shadow. What was I gonna say? No, Twitch wasn't hard, not as hard as YouTube, but you did have to grind a bit. You did have to grind a bit in terms of streams, and you had to get to like 100 followers, so it's like not as bad. Not as bad as Twitch, so might as well just promote it. So in case it does take off, I do have a kick account. So yeah, good job, Shorty. Yeah, racist. It's all they know how to say to start or win an argument. Yeah, pretty much. How's it racist? The Indians ate bugs. They aren't meant to visit all Indians. They were an evil cult. Well, we'll be going into the article. Because, again, this is another thing about these articles. It's everything is racist and context be damned. Pretty much. Context be damned. Remove all context from basically when I say controversy, I'm using that very fucking loosely, but what Mel Gibson went through years ago. Remove all context from that, so you can paint him in a bad light. Remove all context from Temple of Doom, so you can claim it's racist. And remove all context from Resident Evil 5, so you can make the same bullshit argument that people have been making since, 2009? How racist it is, pretty much. Yeah, basically, remove all context. It's also the theme in these articles. But at any rate, yeah, I'm about to kick it up a notch. Yeah, pretty much. And this is my Twitch. This is where I'll be. I recently hit 1K. So happy about that. That was a grind. But anyway, any fucking way. So I'm just going to go from left to right. Save the gamer for last. As I was saying, Trey, I might bring up the other article I sent to you, which is extremely fucking stupid. It doesn't fall into the theme of everything is racist, but it's just as equally fucking stupid. Pretty much. So I might end on that if I get through these articles relatively quickly. Thank you, Tig. Thank you. Just woke up. I am good. It is Friday. I'm going to go see John Wick 4. So I'm happy about that. That's why I can only be on for like I can only be on Twitch for like 2 hours, maybe just a bit over 2 hours, but I'd have to jump off to take care of stuff because the movie itself, the showing I'm seeing is like 5:15 because the movie is like 3 hours long. So yeah, share screen. So here it is again, dredging Mel Gibson through the mud, dragging him through the mud. Mel Gibson's dragged across concrete role is bad for Lethal Weapon 5. And why is it bad for Lethal Weapon 5? Pretty much, well, because it plays into all the actors' worst controversies. Anyone with half a brain, and I'm being very fucking generous when I say that, anyone with half a brain was following said controversies and could actually put into context all of those controversies. Am I going to excuse some of the shit he said? No, but I'm not going to drag him through the mud over it. It's been years since it happened. He apologized, and he was also under the influence of the drugs and alcohol, pretty much. So I'm pretty sure if he had been sober, he wouldn't have said that stupid shit. And he was also going through a lot of insanity dealing with that fucking baby mama. She was a piece of work, but ignore all the shit that she did. No, let's just focus on what he did. Remove all fucking context. Pretty much. Hey, Sultan. Walking on ice. Well, so hopefully you're able to do so. So, you there for 5 hours? No. Yeah, the recording was illegal, but they don't point that out. Because, you can't blame the woman in this scenario. You have to always blame the man. And here it is, pretty much. Now, I've not seen this movie, so I can't say anything about Dragged Across Concrete, all right? And it even has a content warning. I didn't see this. It even has a content warning. This article discusses anti-Semitism, racism, misogyny, and homophobia. Again, remove all context. She was a piece of fucking work. Yeah, I remember when action movies was like just cops versus bad guys. Yeah, good old days. Now you can't. Yeah, now you can't show cops in a positive light. And yes, here's my kick. So if I make it to 75 followers there, as well as stream for 5 hours, I get affiliates. So it's not too bad. Not exact. They need to work on the terms of service, but not too bad. But anyway, so the controversial Dragged Across Concrete proves that Lethal Weapon 5 could struggle to overcome its star's public persona. Dragged Across Concrete has recently proven a hit on Netflix, but the slow burn cop thriller was not much an unqualified success upon its original 2019 release. While Dragged Across Concrete's deliberate pacing and nightmarish atmosphere won the movie its fair share of admirers, like director S. Craig Zahler's earlier efforts, Dragged Across Concrete was also heavily criticized for its reactionary conservative story. Boo fucking who. Thank you, Trey. Boo fucking who. And what is this reactionary controversy, conservative story? A movie wherein the most heroic characters are cops. God fucking forbid. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that all cops are saints. Far from it. Far from it. All right? There are some bad apples even amongst cops. There are some bad apples even amongst the military. It fucking happens. When you have a population as big as the United States, there's going to be bad apples in any demographic. But I'm not going to look at those bad apples and think all cops are like that, or all military is like that, or all whatever is like that. All right? So God fucking forbid the heroic characters are cops. God fucking forbid. The people of this fucking idiot, what's this? Cathal Gunning. The people of this fucking idiot would call if his or I don't know gender based on that fucking name, and I really don't care, but if his or her life was in danger, would call. The same one that you have a problem with a movie painting cops as good characters. And at the same time claiming who are unapologetically indulge in police brutality. All right? Now, again, I have not seen the movie, so I cannot comment on the specifics in this article as compared to the movie, but the fact that this is ScreenRant, the fact that they've said retarded shit so many times in the past, the fact that they do have a bias against Mel Gibson leads me to suspect very fucking lightly that the police brutality is against actual criminals. Is against actual fucking criminals in the movie. That would be my guess. You have Dragged Across Concrete understandably met critical pushback upon release. Oh, really? Twitter does not count as critical pushback. Dragged Across Concrete was extremely controversial both for its content and for Mel Gibson's starring role in the movie. It was only controversial to the pearl-clutching, mint julep drinking, fainting couch needing crowd that this fucking retard falls into. Unlike even the darker original Lethal Weapon, which was pretty far removed from the reality of policing, it wasn't supposed to exactly reflect reality of policing. It was a fucking action movie, but Jesus Christ. Dragged Across Concrete is an unrelenting celebration of fictional maverick cops whose flaws are only accentuated by Gibson's real-world controversies. While the entire Lethal Weapon franchise feels comparatively detached from reality and unable to see or use Gibson's history to its advantage, Lethal Weapon 5 might struggle to align the actor's outspoken public persona and his many major controversies with the sequel's escapist tone. Everyone I've just about spoken with, who like when I've talked about the Lethal Weapon movie, where I've pointed this out even on Twitter, most every one of them are like, Mel Gibson's involved? He's not only acting, he's directing. Take my fucking money. Where is this struggle? Where is this fucking struggle? ScreenRant. Alright. Sets Lethal Weapon 5 up to fail. Since they were made between the 80s and 90s, before the worst of Mel Gibson's controversial behavior came to light, the Lethal Weapon movies were able to ignore the actor's public persona. Okay, what? What public persona? Alright, like, granted, I never really followed Hollywood news or anything like that, but pretty fucking confident that if he had any amount of the public persona that they are alluding to in this paragraph, he would have made page fucking 1 on just about every fucking news site or newspaper or magazine. What fucking public persona that would tarnish the Lethal Weapon movies, that they were able to ignore the actor's public persona at the time that he was filming them? What public persona? Like, what hotel rooms was he trashing? Because I don't remember a single thing that he did that would be remotely controversial during that time. How far up his or her ass did this author have to go to write this article? Well, with the Lethal Weapon 4, I've covered this, was accused of racism due to its reliance on Asian stereotypes. It only was accused of racism recently. These people have yet to actually contact Jet Li to see how he actually felt about making Lethal Weapon 4. Because I'm pretty fucking confident if he had any issues whatsoever, he would have voiced those opinions. Because he is not exactly shy in voicing his opinions. Alright? And Jet Li's actions are in his own fucking right. So if he had any fucking issues at all with Lethal Weapon 4, he would have said so. As well as all the other Asian actors and actresses that were in that film. If they had any issues, they would have fucking said so. But you have these white saviors writing articles for like ScreenRant and so forth, making these claims, and I'm like, okay, did you reach out to these people? No, they don't. Because it would torpedo the narrative. The sequel was nowhere near as problematic as Dragged Across Concrete. Dragged Across Concrete played into Gibson's penchant for using offensive slurs and making wildly prejudiced public statements by having him play a violent, corrupt... There's the key fucking words there, you dipshit. Violent and corrupt. He's not supposed to be a good guy. If he's violent and corrupt, he's not supposed to be the fucking hero. I can't even with this asshole. I can't even fucking even with this asshole. Key words there that torpedo this fucking article right here. Violent and corrupt. It's like Michael Chiklis in The Shield. You're not supposed to root for him. You're fascinated with this character. You want to see what the character does, but you're not supposed to root for the fucking character because he is corrupt as all fuck. In contrast, Lethal Weapon 5 with its sunny blockbuster tone. How do you know what its tone is going to be? It hasn't even really fucking started filming. We'll have to either ignore Gibson's issues or fundamentally change what the franchise feels like. This Catch-22 arguably has no positive outcome, with either approach potentially damaging the franchise's legacy and future. As such, a movie with Dragged Across Concrete accentuating Gibson's flaws is bad news for Lethal Weapon. How it doesn't help Mel Gibson. Right? Gibson's history of misogynistic, racist, homophobic, and anti-Semitic comments, which all correspondingly happened during a time in his life when he was going through a lot of fucking shit. He was drugs, alcohol, probably meds that he shouldn't have been taking pretty much. Dealing with a crazy fucking baby mama, alright? And a bunch of other shit that he was going through, alright? Now, am I excusing everything he said? No, but at the same time, I'm not removing it from context and calling him all this stuff when it happened 10 years ago? Maybe a little over 10 years ago, if I the dates, pretty much. And since apologized, has since been forgiven by none other than Danny Glover. If Danny Glover had any issues with Mel Gibson, I'm pretty fucking sure he would have said something, and I'm pretty fucking sure he would say something to the effect that he didn't want to do Lethal Weapon 5. If it meant working with him. If he had any fucking issues with Mel Gibson. None of this. Because Danny Glover, as stupid as much of the stupid shit as he said in the past, alright, is smart enough, like I said, to put this all into context and forgive him. But yet these white saviors who preach tolerance cannot seem to do so. Right? Align pretty closely with this Dragged Across Concrete character, Detective Brett Ridgman's dim view of human rights. where Shane Black's Lethal Weapon scripts turned Gibson's character into a live wire in a loose cannon, dragged across concrete season play a character who excuses his police brutality, routinely engages in torture, and is depicted as one of the movie's only comparatively heroic figures. Again, I have not seen the movie, but you literally torpedo your argument because he's playing a corrupt, violent character. You're not supposed to root for him. Okay, anybody in the chat, have you seen this movie? Is he at all heroic? Doesn't bode well for Lethal Weapon 5. I'm not gonna, like, you know, it's the last part. It just repeats the same stupid fucking shit that people have been dredging up even recently about Mel Gibson, who every fucking one else has moved on, has chalked it up to, this is the scenario that happened. This is what he was going through. Do we excuse it entirely? No, but this is what he was going through. So we are going to put it all into context, and we are going to forgive him, and we're going to move on as he's like turned his life around. Danny Glover, like, you know, forgave him. A lot of other people forgave him, but these white fucking saviors who write articles for ScreenRant, who live their whole lives on social media, who preach tolerance, are the biggest fucking hypocrites around because they are the most intolerant bunch because they keep dredging up this narrative. But anyway, I'm going to scroll back up because I was going through the article and not talking to the chat in case I want to clip anything out. What I heard about Kick is that it's run by a gambling company, so gambling is the real reason for its existence, and everything else is secondary and will likely not get the focus. Probably. That's where I'm like hesitant. Like I said, if Kick gets its act together, like really gets its act together, it could be competition for Twitch. It could be competition for Twitch. Yeah, so controversial that you didn't even know it existed. Yeah. Violent and corrupt. 2 words that torpedo this entire fucking article. Yeah, the Landwell crowd, yeah. Sloan gave Mel a chance, yeah, and Sloan was 3. Yeah. They gave the movie made Jet Li a name, yeah. And an action star in his own right. Have these people reached out to Jet Li? No. They haven't. Nick Nolte in 48 Hours the same way, yes. Yeah, so like over 10 years, pretty much. And like again, like, you know, like the recording was illegal, but no one wants to point that out because you can't blame the woman. Riggs kind of tortured the criminals too, yeah. Red Heat, Tango and Cash, Beverly Hills Cop, Dirty Harry, Running Scared, yeah, but nobody cared. Yes, nobody cared. Nobody cared. So I'm going to close that. Oh my god. I'm happy I'm seeing John Wick 4 today, and I'm happy to piggyback off of that Talk Nerdy to Us will be talking about John Wick 4. Fingers crossed that it's as good as people are making it out to be, because I would fucking love to talk about something positive. That's what we're going to be talking about. Only a few IQ points? You're smarter than me, Quiet Robot, because dear God, I almost licked my window. That's how insanely stupid that article was. I felt like my IQ just plummet. But anyway, let's talk about how, again, everything is racist, chat. Everything is racist. So let's talk about how Temple of Doom is racist. Let's talk about how Temple of Doom is racist. You know, this is nothing new. People were making these claims back around the time that Temple of Doom premiered. They were making the same stupid claims. Kind of like the original Red Dawn. Because you know, you had the bleeding hearts in the media not liking how the Cubans were portrayed. In particular, even though Cuba is communist. Yeah, I'm saying, like, this is nothing new. This is nothing fucking new. So this person here is not saying anything new. This has been going on for decades. Or at least the claims initially were made back, like, around the time that this movie premiered. Yeah. But it's still racist. Anyway. Let's just dive into the stupidity. Alright, so Indiana Jones, despite Ke Huy Quan's presence, Temple of Doom is still racist. Alright? Still racist. Let's remove all fucking context. Let's remove all context. My personal favorite gun to my head of the original trilogy, because I'm not including 4, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, is Last Crusade. Primarily because of the chemistry between Harrison Ford and Sean Connery. Gun to my head, that's my favorite. But all 3, each one I like for different reasons. All 3 work. But anyway, let's just go right in. Alright, so Ke Huy Quan's Oscar win for Everything Everywhere All at Once caps a comeback story for the ages. Quan debuted at the age of 12, playing Short Round in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, only for his acting career to fade as an adult. His enthusiasm during awards season has been infectious, and his Oscar hopefully cements a spectacular return to prominence. Quan's former co-star Harrison Ford has been particularly supportive, and Oscar night ended with the two embracing after Ford announced Everything Everywhere's win for Best Picture. That and Quan's personal journey have prompted fans to give the Temple of Doom, this should be in quotes, because if this prompted fans to give Temple of Doom another look, then they were never fucking fans to begin with. Because this would never prompt actual fans to give Temple of Doom another look. They've been watching this movie since it originally came out in 1984. Fans would not need another look. They've been looking. They've been watching the movie since it fucking premiered. But moving on. Those returning to the film for the first time in a while, however, are in for a shock. While Quan is irresistible and Ford is in fine form, the movie itself has aged exceedingly poorly. Its racism has become positively disquieting to modern eyes. I fucking hate the word modern nowadays. I really fucking do. Because modern dates every fucking thing nowadays. If you want to relate to a modern audience, you want to do this for a modern audience, it fucking dates every fucking piece of entertainment known to man nowadays. Universal goes out the fucking window. Universal transcends time periods. So I can watch movies from like the 30s, 40s, and 50s because there are messages, universal themes that transcend from that time period to now. But now they want to make things for a modern audience, which will date every goddamn thing out there now. I hate this word now with a passion beyond fucking belief. You have no idea. Okay, now, I'm not really going to go into the entirety of this article. This talks about Quan's performance. Those who have seen Temple of Doom know all about Short Round, pretty much. The sidekick, he had some of the best lines in that movie, like when Willie is trying to wake up Indiana Jones when the plane's going down, and he says, "You call him Dr. Jones, doll." Some of the best lines, some of the best moments, things like that. Even helps, saves Indiana Jones. All right? So, we know all about Short Round. We know every Indiana Jones fan out there knows all about Short Round. Quan is a bright spot in an otherwise very problematic story. The original Raiders of the Lost Ark is hardly clean on this front. How? How is it hard? Tell me. What's this? What was this fucker's name? Robert Vox. How is the original Raiders of the Lost Ark hardly clean on this? Because you're talking about racism. How is it hardly clean on this racism front? How? Does this person realize when these movies are set? All right. Does he realize when these fucking movies are set, like the time period, the actual years that these movies are set? Because in release order, it goes by Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, and The Last Crusade. That's release order. But if you go by chronological order of events in the movies, it would actually be Temple of Doom, because that's set in 1935. Then you have Last Crusade, which I believe is set in 1938. And then you have Raiders of the Lost Ark, which I think is set in 41, if I remember correctly. But if I'm thinking of the years correctly, it would be that chronological order. So removing, again, context of the fucking years that these movies are set. Not fucking modern at all. Different time periods. The technology that we know nowadays is non-existent. All right? But Temple of Doom, since that's the movie that this person is talking about now, is set in 1935. But Temple of Doom seems to lean into the nastiest stereotypes wherever it can. That starts with the temple itself, which reinvents the 19th century thuggee cult as a monstrous enslavers of children. First off, this movie is fucking fiction. Secondly, the thuggee cult did exist, alright? It did fucking exist, alright? And they were monstrous. They were evil. Alright? Does this movie take liberties? Yes. Because it's fucking fiction. It's not exactly a historical documentary, I should say, about the actual thuggies. But this word right fucking here tells you everything you need to fucking know, that these people are not good guys. Okay, so Raiders is first. All right. I knew like Last Crusade was 38, but I thought Raiders is a little bit after that. So Raiders was first. But I know Temple of Doom is 1935. That includes the infamous heart-yanking sequence in which a Pride Priest Mola Ram pulls the heart out of a screaming human sacrifice while shirtless natives howl with infernal joy. It's not subtle, to say the least. It's a cult. They're bad guys. What do you fucking expect? It's fictionalized, yes, but they are bad guys. The Temple of Doom's racism is troubling. Oh, the fact that the movie opens up in Hong Kong and God fucking forbid you have Chinese bad guys. God fucking forbid you have Chinese bad guys in Hong Kong. The racist tropes don't stop with the villains. Hindu culture in general is depicted as either barbaric or simplistic, marked by the film's infamous gross-out feast, in which guests are served a combination of overtly disgusting dishes, which comes shortly before Indy's duplicitous Indian hosts try to murder them. Okay, again, another word that torpedoes your fucking argument. Duplicitous, alright? And this gross-out feast is because, well, they're not normal. And when I say not normal, and that's not in any way to fucking allude to the, like, their ethnicity. It's the fact that they are villains. They are a cult. They are masquerading, alright? They are masquerading as stand-up citizens, influencing the Maharaja, alright? They are villains. And the simplistic, okay, again, it's set in 1935 in a remote village where Indiana Jones, Willie, and Short Round end up. So yeah, it's going to be fucking simplistic. They are away from any major cities. And I say that very fucking loosely because it's in the mid-30s. India, all right, which is still under British occupation, all right? It's going to be rather simplistic. They are a farming community. So what's wrong with that? They're the ones that, like, Indiana Jones apologized to because he had no faith, like, he didn't believe what they were telling him until he saw it for his own eyes and, like, the power of the stones, and he said, "I'm sorry." Like, I just can't. The local village of friendlies who lost their children and the sacred stone that protects them are portrayed as superstitious and childlike in the face of the hero's hard-headed knowledge. Again, he apologizes to them because he actually sees that they were right. They were right. It's not just that they were superstitious. They were right. He's like, yes, I see that now. When asked by the village elder if he has seen the power of the rock, the stone, he said, yes. Shorty's entrance in Shanghai, not Hong Kong, but again, Chinese, comes amid sinister Chinese gangsters trying to murder Jones. It's in China. What would you want? Hispanic gangsters? Did you want Italian gangsters? in China, along with jokes involving rickshaws and fearful locals that tread dangerously close to caricature. Humor. All right? Jokes involving rickshaws. Yeah, because there's a chase, literally chase, that involves a rickshaw of some kind. Humorously done so because Indiana Jones is trying to escape the Chinese gangsters pretty much. And there's a rickshaw ahead of them, so he has short round is trying to get them out of the way. There's nowhere for them to go, so short round steps on the gas and just pushes them literally out of the way. Humor. The pity of it is that it detracts from a technically well-made adventure film. While Spielberg has since all but disowned the movie, Spielberg is like a fucking cuck. Many of his signature touches appear throughout, and his ability to construct a fast-paced action scene remains unparalleled. Kwan navigates it all with a deceptive ease, with help from Ford, who's always lively in his favorite role. Amrish Puri, who plays Mola Ram, who is also in a movie about Gandhi with Ben Kingsley. Very fucking good actor. Highly recommend you watch that movie. It also stars like Martin Sheen, so forth. I think it's actually just called Gandhi, pretty much, if I remember the title correctly. But yeah, he starred alongside Ben Kingsley about Mahatma Gandhi. So he's a very good actor. And yes, he gave a memorable performance. And I'm pretty fucking sure, again, if he had any issues with it, he would have voiced his opinion, because these people are all like are not shy about voicing their opinions, and he went on to a long career playing villains in Bollywood. So I'm pretty fucking sure he had no problem with it. Despite the character's problematic nature, he's the villain. I gotta touch on that other CBR article, because the fact that it's talking about a villain and problematic, it goes into the article I sent Trey. So unfortunately, too much of the film is mired in demonization and caricature for the technical merits to take hold. Watching the movie now is more or less waiting for Quan to do his thing while trying hard not to cringe in the interim. No, the only people cringing are the people who maybe just don't like the movie just in itself, or like not fans of the second one in the trilogy. But no one has ever done this or thought this. At least no sane person has thought this. The actor's Oscar triumph is a fantastic story, and maybe bring Short Round back for more adventures. That's the article pretty much. Everything's racist, folks. Everything is fucking racist. Temple of Doom and Gunga Din both reference Kali, the Indian gods of destruction. Yes. Yeah, watch Retro Hour. They literally have Chinese gangsters. Yes. What, there's mobsters in China? Oh my god. They were assassins? Yeah. But still, like, you know, Chinese bad guys in China. God fucking forbid. Hey, gaming. These people know nothing about the rest of the world. They live in their own little bubbles and think the world reflects how they feel. Yes. Yeah. Holy smokes. Crash landing. Yeah, because they crashed through the roof of the car. And he says, okie dokie, Dr. Jones, hold on to your potatoes. You have a kid driving a car. Yeah, Spielberg gave us JJ. So I'm going to stop sharing that screen. I'm going to keep it up on CBR, because the article I shared with Trey is on CBR. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah. You'll get a kick out of this one, Megatron. But I'm going to go into the Gamer article first. This is just doing my head in. Yeah, it doesn't matter where you go, there's always bad people. A good writer can exploit that. My tiny town has lots of drunk driving and some meth dealers. But let's talk about The Gamer. Everything's racist, folks. That's the theme here. Everything's racist. And what's The Gamer talking about that can't be remade because of how racist it is? Resident Evil 5 is too racist for a remake. Capcom will need to approach this one very differently. Abso-fucking-lutely. Yes, even the ones at the end. The soldiers. who are shooting the bad guys. The person in that article was like making it out as if like it was racist against all the Indians in that movie. And no. Again, Indiana Jones apologized to the simplistic one. Like that's the word that the writer used, but the ones that had the stone stolen from them. All right, because Indiana Jones chalked it up to just Indiana Jones is the one that chalked it up to superstition. All right, he's the one who chalked it up to superstition, and because of that, and like what he saw, he apologized because he realized they were telling the truth. It was real. All right, so they weren't the superstition ones. He was, and then you have the soldiers at the end, right? But anyway, Resident Evil 5 cannot be remade today. And if Capcom does so, they need to approach this one very differently. Why is that? Because the game is set in Africa. You have infected. We're black. And I guess that makes it racist if you shoot a black zombie, because you can only shoot the white zombies. Let's just go into the stupidity, shall we? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Jade King. The gift that keeps on giving. Resident Evil loves a good remake. Capcom has been trading in reimaginings of its survival horror series since 2002, when the beloved original was brought back to life on the Nintendo GameCube. It's a stellar remake and the definitive version of a classic game. The same can be said for 2019's Resident Evil 2, which many now consider the best in the series since it exploded onto the scene 4 years ago. 3 wasn't great, but I still had fun with its new spin on things. Now it's Resident Evil 4's turn. A game so nice they remastered it thrice. And now the remake treatment is set to introduce this banger to a new generation. So what's next? Oh, I covered this article already. Resident Evil 5 is the next logical step, given its mostly iterative sequel with many of the same gameplay mechanics and set pieces. It also has mandatory co-op even if you're playing alone, removing what little horror was left by giving you characters with twice the firepower. Resident Evil 4 influenced Gears of War, and in turn, Resident Evil 5 looked at Gears of War and decided it needed a slice of that gray edge and bloated pie. It's not a bad game, but I'd struggle to describe it as anything more than a pale imitation. The game's legacy is also internally tainted by its racism. Intentional or not, it's there. So doesn't fucking matter if it's intentional or not, it's racist. And again, would say it's unintentional. Even go as far as to say non-fucking existent. I was still in primary school when Resident Evil 5 was first unveiled, so my understanding of racism and the historical role it plays in global sociopolitical culture was fairly lacking. So basically in that sentence alone, it tells me that this person is very fucking sheltered, even in her education. Very fucking sheltered, very indoctrinated, and very fucking skewed in the development of her world beliefs. I just wanted to murder zombies with my friends. It didn't matter what color they were or what country I happened to be in. Now you are being better. You are being better. Good white savior. Good white savior. The infection must be cleansed, and not putting my upgraded shotgun to use would be a tragic waste. But even back then, there was something uneasy about how the game depicted Africa, and the awkward marketing eager to focus on a white man waltzing into an impoverished town only to murder its inhabitants that were zombies. It's the way it depicted Africa. It's a post-apocalyptic Africa. Okay, nothing against Africa, all right? Nothing personal against Africa, but most places in Africa are fucking shitholes, all right? And that's due in part, not solely, but in part to the history of its country's leaders and pretty much pocketing all money and like not like dispersing it amongst the population, pretty much. The greedy, corrupt likes of like Idi Amin, things like that. All right. I'm not solely like it's not the sole reason, but a big fucking reason why. Africa is a shithole. Not all places in Africa, but most of it is. All right. Now, I'm prefacing that by saying like this is a dystopian Africa. All right. Essentially, it is a post-apocalyptic world. All right, and you are going into this country. You're not just waltzing into this fucking village. All right, you have to go there, and when you start shooting the residents, they are infected. Literally, this fucking picture that you posted in this article, they are infected. The reveal trailer that dropped in 2005 has deliberately vague descriptions of where it takes place or what the game is even about. Yeah, because they're not going to specifically say where it's taking place because they're going to leave it ambiguous. It's like with Top Gun and the sequel Maverick, not saying who the enemy is. It's leaving completely up in the air, ambiguous because it doesn't want to exactly pigeonhole itself into a specific enemy. All right, so it's not going to pigeonhole itself into a specific location. It's just ambiguous. You're going into a village. It could be any fucking where on the continent of Africa. No one fucking cares. All right? It's purposely done so it gives the creators a bit more leeway in the storytelling. Chris Redfield is back, this time without his bulging muscles, and is seen walking the quiet streets of a shanty town until an unseen horde of infected rushes his position. A gun is drawn before a Biohazard 5 logo splashes onto the screen. At first glance, this trailer is pretty innocent, and early on enough in the game's production that I'm sure if certain locations and characters were even decided yet. The E3 2007 showing wasn't nearly as lucky with its preview of the game's opening, which, without the presence of your partner Shiva, boils down to a hench white dude beating the shit out of hostile African natives. They are fucking infected. I can't even with this retardation. This caused backlash at the time. No, it caused the pearl clutching at the time. That's the backlash. It caused the pearl clutching. But again, people who actually put this shit into context were like, no, they're infected. And he's in Africa. So they're going to be hostile African natives. But they're infected hostile African natives. This caused backlash, yeah. With the hasty addition of a mixed race co-op partner making it seem like Capcom was trying its best to save face and pave over its unfortunate positioning. The fact that Capcom, nothing against Shiva, but the fact that Capcom did that, like bent the knee in that regard, how are they still as successful as they are? You could argue that a game set in Africa is of course going to result in people of color being infected, which is a valid point. It nukes your entire fucking argument. That view falls away the moment Chris and Shiva venture into the swamplands and are immediately assaulted by natives donning bamboo skirts, whose main mode of combat is throwing homemade spears while screaming in a dialect that feels ripped straight out of insensitive 30s cartoons. Again, have you been to actual parts of Africa? I haven't, but I've cracked open history books. I've seen documentaries, all right? They still do that. In some places, they still do that shit. All right? Some places, they still fucking do that shit. Africa is... It's not just a third world country. It's like a fucking third world continent. It's difficult to defend and especially awkward to revisit all these years later. In 2009, Africa had some of the world's foremost universities situated in bustling urban metropolisms. Yeah, but there aren't that many urban metropolisms in Africa. And a lot of them are in the northern parts of Africa. All right? You'd be hard-pressed to find any in, like, say, the middle parts. Somalia is a shithole. Ethiopia would be one place where these urban metropolises are, because Ethiopia, at least, despite being in close proximity to Somalia, is more advanced. And yet Capcom decided to portray its people not as modern workers, but as savages in stereotypical tribal gear. Again, it's like literally a third world continent, for the most part. And Resident Evil 5 views it as a singular entity with a few worthwhile characteristics to underpin the people and cultures who call it home. It's a generic and offensive interpretation of the continent. Perhaps this dodgy misstep would fly in 2009, but remake it and fail to acknowledge how problematic it remains borders on complete ignorance. I'm not saying a potential remake of Resident Evil 5 needs to abandon Africa entirely, only that major revisions are required for it to stand the test of time. The fourth is campy and far removed from reality in ways that allow it to lean into charming eccentricity, while Resident Evil 5 is far more grounded, realistic, and oddly graphic in its visual execution. Everything feels a bit hopeless, even as you venture underground to pilfer ancient ruins for treasures. Stereotypes are reinforced with increased examples of vulgarity as the campaign tries to inject some manner of variety in its generic firefights. It's bleak and requires a far more extensive reimagining or even a full rewrite if it hopes to avoid causing offense and abandon its prior baggage. It's not impossible, though, and perhaps Resident Evil 4's success will be a sign for Capcom to broach upon a new timeline, so it doesn't remake every game in existence before having no idea where to go next. Take risks now and reap the ample rewards years down the line. After 5 comes 6, and trust me, nobody wants that. I'm not going to bother reading the last paragraph. Resident Evil 5 had problems, but racism is not amongst them. Racism is not amongst them. Crack open a fucking history book. Crack open a book that's not approved by the education and indoctrination system we have here now in the United States, but an actual book. Talking about the history of Africa. It's still a fucking shithole. Human slavery is still a thing. Yeah. It is still a thing. Slavery is still even a thing in the Middle East. White Africans are a thing, yeah, but we don't, that's facts, Trey, that's facts. Yeah, you can't kill him. No, you can't, because that would be racist. You'd be racist if you do. Even if he's trying to kill you, you can't. Yeah, child soldiers still exist in Africa. Zombie Lives Matter, yeah. She watches BBC documentaries, yeah. The writer would support PETA and its boycott of Animal Crossing, yeah. Watch an African documentary, yeah. I remember learning about an island that is occupied by tribes still that have killed soldiers trying to approach them and who have no idea of the outside world, yeah. I suddenly feel bad for all the villains I killed in video games when I could have become friends with them, yes. Could have become friends with them, but there it is. And there it fucking is, chat. Holy shit. But I have a little bit of time. Not going to go into every paragraph, but I wanted to show you this article that I shared with Trey. Because it must have been a really fucking slow day at CBR. Or else the retardation levels were really high. Because you have this gem. I saw this gem from CBR. 10 most problematic animated movie villains. Completely missing the point of a villain. I think no more needs to be said, pretty much. So let's just go right into this. Like, who makes the 10 most problematic animated villains? Okay, first off the bats, we have Mother Gothel from Tangled. Her greed made her Tangled's problematic villain. Her emotional abuse and gaslighting of a child were particularly irredeemable, since more gullible audiences might mistake her as a well-meaning but flawed character. First off, that's not just gullible, that's downright retarded. If they all think that her character has any redeeming qualities whatsoever, if she's just a well-meaning but flawed character. We literally see her steal the baby at the beginning of the fucking movie. She's not a well-meaning character. I watched it. It was okay. Beauty and the Beast, Gaston. All right. His hubris and obliviousness made him appear more as lovable, oblivious hunk than an actual villain. However, he displayed deeply misogynistic tendencies, such as his taste for Belle's reading and desire to turn her into a homemaker. He's a grade A douche, pretty much. But again, he's a villain. You're not supposed to like him. All right? You're not really supposed to like him. Rourke from Atlas: The Lost Empire. Rourke was a mercenary. Keyword there, mercenary. Mercenaries don't exactly have feelings or empathy. Who intended to plumb out Atlantis' riches from the very beginning. He's a villain. He didn't care that is it Kaida or Kita? I can't remember the movie that much. Abduction meant the death of her people and even aspired to sell the stolen technology to warring nations. Again, villain. But because he never lied about his objectives and showed concern for the safety of his crew, he was not exactly as problematic as the other ones. He's a bit more redeemable in that regard, even though he, again, is outright, upfront with his intentions and what to do. He's a villain. He's not redeemable. Farquaad from Shrek. He's a powerful military leader and a deeply problematic character. His main goal was to eradicate fairy tale creatures, meaning he wanted to create a nation where only humans could live. Yeah. A villain who's all about cleansing. In exchange for the fairy tale creatures, Shrek would deliver Fiona into Farquaad's waiting arms. Unfortunately, the princess did not have a say in this decision and immediately detested Farquaad moments after meeting him. All right, blah, blah, blah. Frollo, the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Has this person read the book or even seen any other version of Hunchback of Notre Dame? He's the bad guy. He's the antagonist. You're not supposed to at all relate to him. These aren't sympathetic villains. No villain should be sympathetic if they're villains. None of this gray area shit. While Frollo was one of Disney's most complex villains, he was equally problematic. The villain's disdain for gypsies resulted in a brutal campaign against them, where the guards were used to round them up and throw them in cages. Much of Notre Dame itself burned amidst Frollo's quest to take Esmeralda for himself. Yes. Oh my god, it's doing my head in. It's doing my fucking head in. And gypsies are pieces of shit, and I will flat out say that. But moving on. Titan from Megamind. Who was a grade A douche even before he got the powers? Alright? Titan was once an unimpressive cameraman who filmed Roxanne's most pressing stories. He was a little dick. When Megamind got bored of dominating the city, he gave Metro Man's powers, gave Titan, when he's human form, Metro Man's powers, accidentally creating a villain worse than anything he ever aspired to. With sufficient power, Titan proved more sinister and problematic than ever thought possible, because, again, you could even tell before he got his powers that he's not a good character. Like, he actually comes off as really fucking creepy. So when he gets his powers, it's not a oh, okay moment. It's an oh no moment. Anybody watching that movie could fucking see that. Because he literally had this relationship built up in his head between him and Roxanne that never fucking existed. Hernan Cortez in Road to El Dorado. Based on the historical figure of the same name, Cortez was a secondary antagonist in the Road to El Dorado. Having found Tulio and Miguel on his boat, he initially promised them an excruciating life of slavery. Although Cortez forgot about them after they escaped, Tequel piqued his interest in El Dorado. Should the heroes not have sealed the path to the city off, Cortez would have massacred or enslaved the indigenous population and plumbed their most prized treasures. Again, a villain. Cortez was not exactly one to be emulated even from history. All right? Read about the conquistadors. Who's this person? Read about the conquistadors. They're not exactly, David, not exactly the ones that you should be looking up to. All right, Governor Ratcliffe from Pocahontas. I can't stress this enough. Bad guys. He was sent by the English in order to colonize North America. He quickly fell in love with the immense gold and encouraged his men to deforest the surrounding area for better habitation. Do not get your history from Hollywood, and certainly don't get your history from Disney, all right? But I'm just prefacing that, but, again, he's the villain, all right? He's the fucking villain. John Smith didn't look like John Smith in the Disney cartoon. No fucking way close was he look like that. And Pocahontas didn't fall in love with John Smith. She married John Rolfe. Oh my god. History did have her shielding Smith when Smith was going to be. But that's about as close to history as that fucking Disney cartoon came to. Pharaoh Ramses, Prince of Egypt. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm saying that's the point of this article, Megatron. The point of this article, tell us these are bad guys. We know. There's a man who considered Moses a brother. However, their bond would not suffice to free the Israelites from slavery, especially given the fantastic monuments he intended to construct for their labor. Literally read the fucking Bible, pretty much. Oh my god. Surprise, fucking surprise. The number one problematic villain in animation of all time is the Joker. The Clown Prince of Crime is problematic. It's like no shit, Sherlock. But anyway, chat, we're coming up just above the 1 hour mark. I want to end on that because, again, CBR must have been a slow day or the retardation levels were high because, again, an article telling us how these villains are villains. Pretty fucking much is the gist of that article. At any rate, thank you for hanging out with me for this time. I will be live in about 30 minutes or so on my Twitch, Jade_Fire. I'll be playing some Call of Duty. Fingers crossed. Playing something like, close quarters, like, working, like, basically using the guns that I'm builds that I've been working on, pretty much using, and so forth. Playing for about a couple hours before I have to jump off, take care of some stuff, and then go see John Wick 4. I'm happy about that. I'm fucking happy about that. But thank you again for hanging out with me for this pop culture and cringe. Unfortunately, they go hand in hand. I would like a week where I can talk about positive stuff, but unfortunately, it's whatever positive news comes out, it's always overwhelmed by the cringe nowadays, which is a shame, pretty much. And this is my Twitch. Thank you. And yeah, need brain bleach. Yeah, pretty much. But anyway, so again, thank you all for hanging out with me. See you all over on my Twitch in about 26 minutes or so. Hanging out there for a couple hours. Well, shoot the shit again and talk about maybe more pop culture topics and whatever else floats your boat. So take care, everyone. Have a good rest of your day or evening, depending on where you are in the world. And I will see you all next time. So take care and peace.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.